Hey everybody, welcome to the very first episode of Southern Heritage and Grits. My name is Donald and I'm so glad you're here today. This channel is all about our Southern heritage and our Southern roots. We grew up on these traditions of good food and good cooking, and that's what we're going to share with you today. So for our first video recipe, we're going to keep it simple. A childhood favorite of mine that my grandmother used to make all the time, and we called it pudding and grits. So we have this liver pudding here. We have one version which comes in a casing, looks like a large sausage. This is from Lee's Packing House. And then we also have another version of liver pudding, which is just a loaf of pudding. And you can see this is from Nieces. So we have two versions of pudding here, and my grandmother them used to cook it up, and then they would serve it with some hot grits in the morning. It was mainly a breakfast item, but people nowadays cook grits for lunch, breakfast, and dinner. So I'm going to show you how we get started with this pudding and grits. All right, so we're going to get started with a true classic, which is creamy grits. So I have some quick 5-minute grits here from Jen Dandy, which of course is going to take about 20 minutes to cook. Never believe that 5-minute that they put here on this package. If you want some really good creamy grits, you're going to have to cook it. So the recipe is 4-to-1. So you have 4 amounts of liquid to 1 amount of dry grit. So I have a half a cup right here. This is a half cup measuring cup. So we're going to use a half a cup of grits to 2 cups of liquid. So I have 1 cup of water and 1 cup of milk in this measuring cup here. We have 2 tablespoons of butter that we're going to use to add to the grits, and adds flavor and also adds to the creaminess. I have a half a teaspoon of salt and a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. So this is our first recipe. We're going to keep it simple, and I'm going to show you how we put this pudding and grits together, and it's going to be delicious. Okay everyone, before we get started with the grits, I'm just going to show you how easy it is to prepare this pudding. It is already cooked, so all you have to really do is heat it up. So you can do it in a frying pan, you could do it in the oven. This is how I like to do it. I just cut off a little piece here because they're kind of long. And this casing to me is tough, so I just cut right through the casing, just like that. And this way when you cook it, the pudding on the inside will come out. Now, if you don't cut the casing, it will just usually squeeze out of the casing. So I just put it in the pan just like this. And we're going to stick this in the oven. 375 degrees, 380 degrees is what I usually set my oven at. It'll take about 15-20 minutes to heat this up all the way through. Some people like to cook it a little longer to get a kind of crust on it, but I'm going to go ahead and put this in the oven, and then we're going to get started on our grits. Okay, so we have our pot here on the stove. It's getting warm. There's a couple of utensils you're going to want to have handy. You want to have your whisk handy, and you want to have your wooden spoon handy. The whisk is covered in silicone so it doesn't scratch our pot. What we're going to do is we're going to heat up 2 cups of liquid. So I'm going to carefully pour this in here. Just like that. And it's going to take a couple of minutes for this to heat up, come up to a simmer, and then we'll add our grits into it. Okay, so our liquid is simmering here. It's coming to a light boil. So what we're going to do is we're going to slowly stir in the grits, and you want to keep whisking and stir it in. You don't want your grits to get lumpy. If you put it in too fast or you don't keep it moving, it's going to lump up on you, and we all heard the jokes about lumpy grits, so we don't want that. And what I'm going to do is just kind of keep that moving there for a minute. And as you can see, it's starting to come to a boil. So we're just going to stir it for a little bit longer. Just want to make sure all of that little kernels of corn, well, they're not kernels anymore, they're ground up, but make sure this corn is well mixed in here so it doesn't lump up. So once your grit starts to boil, I'm going to add half of my butter right into the pot there. Stir that in a little. So that butter is going to give it flavor. And that's looking really good. And the next thing we're going to do, we're just going to add our salt and pepper. Now, you can taste your grits once it's cooked, and if you need to add more salt or pepper, you can. The thing that you don't want to do is put too much salt. I remember many mornings my sister, she was in charge of making the grits. We were just kids, and sometimes it seemed like she would just drop, maybe the box of salt slipped and fell into the grits, but it would be horrible. So what we're going to do now is we're going to cover this up. Always make sure your pot has a cover, and you see this pot has a little hole there so moisture can escape. And now we're going to turn this down to low, and we're going to let it cook for at least 15 to 20 minutes. I know it says quick 5-minute grits, but you want to cook your grits good so it's nice, soft, and creamy for you. All right, this has been cooking for a couple of minutes. So there's another thing that you want to do is every 3, 4, 5 minutes, you want to come and stir this grits. If it starts to get too thick, you can add some additional water or cream to it. But as it simmers, you want to continuously stir it so it doesn't stick to the bottom and it doesn't get lumpy. So we're off to a good start, folks. Okay, our grits has been cooking for about 7 minutes now, and it has gotten nice and thick. As you can see there, you can see we have some nice thick grits here, so it's looking good. I'm going to let it go for a couple of more minutes. This is the consistency I like. A lot of people like it a little thinner or even a little thicker, but I like this is a good consistency for me. So I am going to let this go for a few more minutes, and then we'll get ready to add our last touches and serve this grits. All right, that is looking good. All right, so we've been going 10 minutes now, and it has even gotten thicker. Grits has gotten really thick. So what I'm going to do is just add a touch more water. And anybody who's cooked grits before knows the longer it sits, it's going to absorb some water. So I had a 1/4 cup of water here. I measure everything. So, but I'm just going to add about half of that and just whisk that right into this. You could use cream, milk as your additional liquid if you want to. But we're just doing a basic grits recipe here. So we're going to let this go for another few minutes, and then we're going to taste it and make sure that it's not gritty. We want nice, smooth, creamy grits. Okay, everybody, we're looking really good here. It's been 15 minutes now. Just going to stir that just a little bit more, good consistency. So now we're going to do our finishing touches. For this particular recipe, we're just going to add our remaining piece of butter in there. I'm going to whisk this in. And as you can see, there's no lumps in this grits at all. So what we're going to do is we're going to taste it here. It looks creamy. There we go, nice and creamy. So we're going to give it a taste. All right, so that tastes great. You could add a little more salt. Some folks might like a little more salt, but it's just fine for me. Now at this point, this is where the magic starts. You can add just about anything to this. You'll see a lot of recipes where the first thing they add is some cheese to the grits, and they stir that into the grits. And just you can do fish and grits, shrimp and grits, steak and grits, chicken and grits. The list just goes on and on. So what we're going to do is we're going to get this plated up because we're having pudding and grits tonight. So we're going to get this plated up, and I'm going to show you what the finished dish looks like. Okay, everybody, we have plated up our first grits dish on Southern Heritage and Grits. So what I done here is I put the creamy grits in the bowl. I added the pudding on top of the grits in the center of the bowl, and then we garnish with some parsley. It's a simple dish, not a lot of ingredients. The pudding may not be the most appetizing looking thing, but it tastes really great. It has lots of flavor to it. If you're from the South, South Carolina, North Carolina, you're used to having pudding. Lots of famous people love grits. I mean, Oprah Winfrey has a grits recipe in her old magazine. Patti LaBelle, grits recipes that she's done on TV. Michelle Obama talked about how she had grits for breakfast in her household. Just lots of people love grits all over the world now. It's become very famous. So this is what it looks like. Nice and simple. I'm going to give it a taste and see what we have here. And it's still hot. The grits stays warm for a long time. Oh, that is good. Reminds me of my childhood. So I want to thank everybody for viewing. I hope you go out and buy you some grits, enjoy it, cook it for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, add whatever toppings you like on it. We have plenty more recipes coming. So I want to thank you, and everybody have a nice day. Thank you.